Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me this morning to give this presentation. I would like to start with thanking Motorola for inviting me to give this presentation on their behalf at this event. As you can see from the first slide, the topic for this is very much focused on command control centers that relate to the next generation network systems. Now, when we think of solutions, network solutions or infrastructure solutions, we always think of four folds: the command and control rooms, the applications that are used to manage the operations, the mean or the media for transporting and transferring the voice, data, video, which is the network, and the sort of devices, mobiles, BDAs, etc., that we use to communicate whatever we want to communicate. Now, what do we need to communicate? Basically, voice, data, video. Now, for each of these requires certain capacity, certain broadband, certain kind of networks. If we look at this slide, sorry, the mic is, with this slide, I'm going to look at my pages because I don't see. We can tell that we have two types of networks, the private and the public networks. Now, the private are mainly used for safety systems, like policing networks, for example. And the public are used for public purposes like telecom companies and etc. So we can think of TETRA, we can think of LTE, we can think of experience, we can think of GSM, 3GSM, etc., etc. Again, the story is all about the voice, data, video, and which network can carry which of these three, or a combination of them. We think that the future is for LTE. Everybody believes in that, but how true is that? I believe we need a few years down the road to make such a judgment. Now, the thing that I like about this slide, basically, it looks at the networks or the infrastructures in 4 tiers. The first tier is very much text-based. The second one is very much communicating images, and the third one we moved into live images, and the fourth one very much we moved into multimedia. Now, if you look at the kind of networks that can carry or can support such tiers, the first tier, I believe the TETRA system, the old one, very much enough to support any text-based operations. The second tier, we need an advanced sort of TETRA, as well as the GPRS. The third one, when it comes to live images, we look at TETRA 2, the TEDs. And the fourth one, very much you need LTE just to support the future dreams and the future applications that we are looking into. Now, what is LTE? I don't think I can add too much. The literature is there, and everybody is talking about LTE these days. Again, the question from my personal experience, whether the LTE will be the real future for communication or not, I believe we need a few years down the road to answer this question. And this is a personal opinion. When TETRA came out, they thought that this is the end, this is the greatest thing on earth, and this is a typical thing with technology. You start with something new and you think it would last for forever, but a few years down the road, someone comes up with a new technology, and very much the first thing the new organization or the new technology starts to do is to hit the previous technology. There are many reasons for that, but this is the truth. This is the fact. That's what happens in an industry. The only exception that I noticed when it comes to technology does not change too fast, is the Java language, frankly speaking. Things started with old languages. Every few years, a new language comes and takes over the previous ones and makes the old ones look bad. Except the Java. It came out in the early 90s, and it's been 15, 16 years, and it's still leading the programming languages, and even in the real-time applications, I see it leading that as well. Now, the applications, when we think of LTE, we think of expedience, we think of WiMAX, we think of any of the available network infrastructures. Why do we need these networks? Basically to serve our purposes by having the different applications to work out for us. The most important applications that I would see is the video surveillance. I would think of AMPR. I would think of PDAs to interconnect with the various applications and systems remotely. Now, all these applications are in place. Some of them work well with some networks and still does not work with some other network infrastructures. Many factors limit the ability of the implementers and the project staff to take care of such applications. And per a recent experience with one of the projects that Motorola led in Abu Dhabi, I was involved with that project for at least the first 6-7 months. We learned from that project several lessons. The lessons that I can think of at this moment, first of all, do not sign the contract before having your frequencies in a place, and before securing the frequencies from the TRA, for example, in UAE. Otherwise, you will end up wasting 6-7 months before being able to start your project. And that's basically what happened with the Motorola project I just referred to. The second question, as a vendor, make sure that you bring your best staff into the project. Do not bring me a your second category or second class staff to take care of the project once you sign the project. Never feel that you secured the project in your pocket, because it can run away from you at any moment, at any time. And the other lesson that I would think of basically has to do with the applications. Make sure that when you present the network, you present the set of applications that will work with that network to your client, because the client is the sponsor. And make sure that they are happy all the time, throughout the way. And never ignore, whether intentionally or unintentionally, their hopes, their wishes. Make sure that you satisfy what they expect from you. Make sure that you show them throughout the way that you are committed to the project. Now, on the other hand, as a client or a sponsor, if any of you is going to sponsor such a project, it is very important that you show commitment to your vendor, because if you lose your interest in the project and you show them that, they will try to escape from you. Their objective will be very much, we want to just finish this project and leave out of here. So these are some of the lessons that I personally learned from such projects. Back to this application, for example, I do want to just put more emphasis on the importance of the ANPR applications, because everybody knows without an ANPR system, a police officer probably can punch in 80 to 100, 500, 1,000 cases every day, but with the system, you can track thousands of cases because the system will work by itself. Another case is the adaptive video streaming, and this can happen basically from cameras, mobile cameras in the cars, in mobile cars, or from fixed cameras. And I'm sure by having the right network in a place, you can have such a service. Just an example of how to allocate the car and like access the camera remotely. This is an example of fixed cameras. The availability of networks that support greater bandwidth will definitely enable growth in data applications. Command and control centers apparently by having the LTE in place will become multimedia data hubs. We believe that the increase in applications, the good applications, will improve both safety and efficiency and the safety industry. Public safety networks should be utilized by deploying all possible applications. And the last point basically highlights a fact that when you install a network, you invest too much money in it. Even if a newer technology comes out, try to utilize your existing or the network that you just installed. Otherwise, it will be a waste of effort, a waste of time, a waste of money. And the real utilization of any network infrastructure is by having all possible applications that serve your work purposes, mainly in public or private safety sectors. Now, with such projects, I would like to just again re-emphasize on some of the lessons that we learned from the recent project that we had with Motorola in Abu Dhabi. Again, the client should be happy all the time because the client is very much your end user, your sponsor. And there is always competition. There is always other companies who try to put their noses into your project and try to convince your sponsor that the technology that you are trying to deploy or you already deployed is something old, because anything when it comes like a year after, you can call it an old technology, and that's the case with all technologies. So make sure that you keep your client aware that you are very committed to the project. You are trying to provide them with the latest updates in the system. If there is any upgrades, try to bring them on board, etc., etc. Make sure that you hold regular meetings with them, and so on. And as a client, as a client sponsor or service receiver, make sure that when you commit to a project, commit to it throughout the end. Because if you allow others to interfere, you will lose. You will be the first user. You will lose the money you invested in the project. You will be confused after some time, and you will not be able to utilize the network and the effort that you invested in the project. With such a project, you end up with good lessons, with sad stories. The competition is always from outside as well as from inside, because within the organization, let's say ex-police force, when they commit to such a project, from within the organization itself, there would be supporters, and there would be some people who would like to stop your project, who are against your project. So make sure that you play the game right. It's the political dimension when you come to manage such a projects. Bring the right people, the right project manager with vast experience in project management, with great interpersonal skills and great attitudes. Otherwise, you will be the loser. And I believe in, when you look at some of the statistics and the studies, they say the failure rate of project can exceed probably high 70s, low 80%. And most of that is due or is because of the project managers themselves. So if you are a great project manager, regardless what you are managing, the project will succeed. Basically, that's what I wanted to share with you. That's what I wanted to say. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for your kind of very honest and frank presentation. Is there there's time for one question from the audience? No? Can you just remind, which technology were you using for?
Basically, we use the Motorola Experience technology.
Yeah.
At that time, there was the WiMAX and the Experience. And we thought that Experience would be much better than WiMAX to serve the purpose of, for which the project was to be started. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed, also for staying on time.
Thank you.